Welcome to one more segment of Politics Done Right. I have the one and only claim to fame of the Democratic Party, Niko House. Niko, tell me why I'm so wrong for saying that.
No, I'm still in the Democratic Party. They don't like me. They don't like me.
Why don't they like you, Niko?
They don't like me, man. So, well, one, I've never been a Democrat. But two, when the Democratic Party has been able to get away with a lot, and they've kind of painted themselves as being this altruistic ally of marginalized people, people of color, progressive, leftists, et cetera, et cetera. And when they ultimately stab us in the back, which has been, a historic pattern at this point, nobody really holds them accountable. Well, I don't know about you. Am I allowed to? Can I cuss on this show?
You can say whatever you want to say. This is Politics Done Right.
So, well, I know, because you're Latino, so I know your mom treated the same way. So if I did something wrong, I got my ass whooped.
Right.
There was no, no, you just move on to the next thing. Nah. So whenever I was president of Carolina Students for Bernie Sanders at UNC, and I was president of North Carolina Colleges for Bernie Sanders in 2016, and I was also the acting state director for the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016. Saw a lot of things that went wrong, but long story short, it equated to rigging. And so myself and a ragtag team of expert attorneys decided we're going to hold the Democratic Party accountable in a legitimate way, and not because of the whole sore loser thing, because that's a thing where people lose and then they want to sue because they lost. No, we actually started our lawsuit in the middle of the Democratic primary in 2016. And the reason why was because we didn't know whether or not Bernie was going to win or lose at that point, because he was actually close to being tied with Hillary at the point when we started it. However, we knew that the type of vehicle, that in the apparatus that Bernie Sanders had, we don't know if anyone else is going to have that type of influence ever again within the Democratic Party on the left. And we can't take the chance that maybe the next time they'll, behave even handily. Maybe the next time they'll be objective. Maybe the next time they'll be fair. Maybe the next time they won't cheat. And we can't count on someone raising $46 million in 1 month, breaking every record, having millions of volunteers to try and overcome that cheating. The Democratic Party should be held accountable to know if you do this again, there will be consequences going forward. So, Democrats aren't really big fans of people who try to hold them accountable.
Now, I think you were one of the instigators that got the DNC sued. Isn't that the case?
The DNC fraud lawsuit. Yeah, that's what I was just referring to. The DNC fraud lawsuit, $900 million. It's the largest political lawsuit in history, actually.
Now, isn't that at the Supreme Court right now?
It is at the Supreme Court. This is a big story behind it. So when we were at the federal courts, and actually here in Florida, South Florida specifically, we got our case dismissed for jurisdictional issues. The judge dismissed it without prejudice, just to figure out whether or not we had the right to actually bring the suit in the district that we brought it in. And so we ended up we appealed it because it was without prejudice. And then we ended up in the appeals court, 11th Circuit Appeals Court down here in Miami. So we actually won the appeal on two cases, on two grounds, but lost on one. And so what they did was allowed us to go to the Supreme Court and amend the complaint so that, because it wasn't like we lost because of the merits of that ground, but it was merely that they wanted it to be worded better. Right. Basically, it was,
they wanted the legalese.
Exactly. It was like, literally, it was, well, the claim, they claimed that they didn't know the DNC was going to rig the election, but we need specific examples of the DNC saying they weren't going to rig it or that they were acting objectively, which isn't really our responsibility in this particular phase of the case. That's not supposed to happen until the discovery, and we have to prove our point. But these judges, once again, so I know judges are supposed to act even-handedly. Most judges do not. They still belong to political parties.
Well, we know that from 2000, right?
Yes, exactly. So they're making it difficult for us, but it seems like every step of the way, an angel is looking over us and is like, nah, we're not done yet. So we get to the Supreme Court, we ask for a writ of certiorari, which is like an amended complaint, so we can take it back down to the appeals court. And if the Supreme Court decides, hey, they're absolutely right, we go straight into the discovery stage. And let's just say with the type of witnesses that will be called for this lawsuit, it's going to look like a damn reality TV show. It really is.
I can imagine. Okay, so let's go now. I started out this interview just going into a little bit of meat about you and the Democratic Party. I was kind of about who the hell is Niko Mack? I mean, who the hell is Niko House?
I'll say Niko Mack is retired. I'm a married man now, Alberto. I am a married man.
All right.
But Niko House, well, I'm an activist. I have my own radio show and all that good stuff. Actually, I used to have a show on iHeartRadio as well. That's where I started. And but honestly, the reason that I do what I do now is because whenever I first discovered the rigging, I was just doing videos because it was so hard to try and get all the information at once. I didn't know who I needed to talk to. I just did a video and I said, hey, this is what I'm experiencing within the Bernie Sanders campaign. I need somebody to let me know if I'm crazy or if you're dealing with this as well and what it would look like. Lo and behold, I mean, I just did the video on my Facebook page and I was just like, maybe thought a couple thousand people would watch it. It goes viral and my inbox fills up with hundreds of DMs from Bernie staffers, volunteers, people who wanted to remain anonymous who were near the top of the campaign. Now, I was on spring break when this happened, actually. And so it was kind of crazy because I was sitting on the beach and I was like, oh, shit, if I open these DMs, life is really never going to be the same after this. And I took another sip of my mojito and I just dug in. And so I started doing these videos trying to explain to people, how to look for rigging, maybe what they could do in their areas to try and fight and battle fraud. People really liked my take on the issues. And so I got offered a radio show, and it was on Wake Radio, which is on iHeartRadio. And then then I got another offer on American Film Radio. As this was happening, I was putting on my YouTube page, my Facebook following. And the rest is history. I mean, now we have a pretty solid following on YouTube and Twitter. I was a surrogate for Tulsi Gabbard's campaign. I was a surrogate for Jill Stein's campaign in 2016. I've, I was invited to speak at Code Pink's event here in Miami for the Iran protest. Actually, Medea Benjamin was down here with me when I spoke at that.
She gives a very good interview. I've interviewed her a couple of times.
Medea Benjamin is fire.
Yes,
I love Medea Benjamin.
Both her and her husband, yeah.
Yes, she's amazing. But I've been very, very privileged in my 31 years to have done a lot in a very short period of time, 4 or 5 years, and it's really just it's due to making I made a lot of tough calls that I didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but I was like, I feel like I've always felt like there was inherent value in doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing.
Niko, you served in the military. You served your country. You served in the military. Where did you serve?
Fort Bragg.
Right. Now, after you left the military, I think where did you go? University of North Carolina?
University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, yeah.
Chapel Hill. And if I'm not mistaken, after talking to you for a while, you had an interesting story. You were doing this radio stuff, trying to do it all full time, and you ended up in a car. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, at University of North Carolina, I did pretty well. I was all right, man. I was like on the way out. I think I got like a 3.5, 3.6, which at UNC, if you know anything about UNC, we were one of the three schools.
Oh, yeah.
We were one of the 3 schools in the nation that practice grade deflation.
Right.
In other words, just because you got an A doesn't mean you are going to get an A. If too many people scored high enough on a particular paper, then they start reducing your grade. And I think it's us, Yale, and maybe one other school practices this. So it was hellacious. I'll put it like that. But it was paying off for me career-wise. I was in debate. I was part of the American Parliamentary Debate Association. Had a great time there. That was a crazy ride too. That's where I was able to become president and founder of Carolina Students for Bernie Sanders. We were the largest Bernie Sanders organization in the country in 2016. We were in a bunch of newspapers, and we had about 300 members. So we were bigger than almost any Bernie organization, like in this election cycle as well. which was pretty huge for us because we were just students, and it was an honor to be a part of that. And so with this crazy packed resume, I was a paralegal in the military. And if you know anything about the military, you always work, so if you're a nurse, you're not a nurse, you're a doctor now.
Right.
They're gonna squeeze every bit out of you that they can. So if you're a paralegal, basically I was an attorney. I was responsible for drafting the charges. I was responsible for the legalese, if you will. I was responsible for basically every step except for actually arguing cases in court. I was responsible for advising the colonel, which is the brigade commander or the battalion commander at the time. And so I had a pretty packed resume going into coming out of UNC. And so I got a full ride to a few prestigious colleges and, some Ivy Leagues and UNC and all this good stuff. And I also got in vocational rehab. So I had the GI Bill for serving my time, but because I was retired disabled, I also got vocational rehab, which would have paid for $300,000 of grad school, professional school, which law school is. So essentially, all I had to do was shut up and do and just do what everybody else does.
You just had to follow the corporate path if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I would have actually been one of the very, very, very few people who would have left with more money. Like, I would have made money in law school. I'm going to put it like that. A lot of money in law school. I would have been getting cash checks every single semester. And instead, my dumb ass decided to be an activist. After this is in the middle of the DNC fraud lawsuit coming together, by the way. And I'm like researching this, traveling the country, getting evidence together. I led an investigative team. I was working for a PAC called Jam PAC that was dedicated to exposing election fraud and election integrity issues and bolstering progressive candidates. They helped me put together an investigative team where we were able to find links to people within Bernie's campaign who were taking money from pro-Hillary Clinton super PACs like Priorities USA, Hillary for America, etc. And they were then a week later hired to Bernie Sanders' campaign. And then those also were the names of people that we were getting back that were, behaving a little bit suspiciously. And so we were able to expose a lot. Now, I don't know if y'all know this, but being in the business of truth-telling and activism is not a very lucrative career. And so even though when I lived in New York before I moved to Miami because I was doing this, essentially. But I saved up enough money that I can move to Miami and work with Jared Beck and Elizabeth Lee Beck on the DNC fraud lawsuit and be here to not just help with the legal side, but also to help spread the message because obviously I have this platform as well. And I get down here and the first day I walked down here. Now, mind you, I didn't save up that much money. I saved up a bunch of money in college. I spent that in New York, saved up some more money in New York, came down here. First day I get down here, I was walking on South Beach by myself and I was thrown to the ground and arrested for not having a Florida state ID on me, even though I had a military ID on me. I was also called the scum of the earth. In case you were wondering, yes, the cop was racist as hell. The case obviously got dismissed, but before you get to the point of a case ever being dismissed, my car gets towed, right? This is all my stuff is in this car because I just moved down. I was staying in the Airbnb that night anyway. And so all my stuff my car gets towed. I have to pay for my own bail. I have to pay like $400 or $500 car out of towing because this is on fucking South Beach. I don't know if y'all know about South Beach, but they are about their money. They're about their money and they're going to get it. So even though I wasn't completely and totally broke, unfortunately, I ended up having to, I couldn't afford to get an apartment because that was my deposit. That was my deposit in my first month's rent. And I literally I had a scheduled appointment to go see an apartment like the next day or 2 days later. So I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you still have to live your life here. I still have to eat. I still have to put gas in my car. I still have to do all the daily routine, and I still have to work. And I have to do my show. And so I had to basically I lived in my car for 2.5 months. I did Uber and Uber Eats and things like that. My wife, who is my wife now, girlfriend at the time, actually came down and stayed in my car with me. And she worked, and we would maybe get an Airbnb every week or so. And but I still did my show every Friday out of my car. And yeah, and luckily I was able to. I got a job at that time, a full-time job, and I finally was able to get an apartment. But then I started doing this a little bit more often, and eventually I was able to transition to doing it full time. But it was a rough patch. It was a rough patch,
The,
keeping up the lawsuit, doing interviews, and because the DMV fraud lawsuit was in full swing on top of this while I was homeless.
Let me tell you the reason I wanted you to tell that story. Because there are a lot of us who have given up quite a bit for activism, and it doesn't matter what type of activism you're in, it is actually about changing, making the system better for us all. And a lot of people don't get it.
Yeah.
And knowing what I know about you and what you've given up, I don't care what the hell your politics is. Although our politics is pretty damn symmetrical, the truth of the matter is that there are a lot of people out there that are doing this now. A lot of people, we
Hmm.
need a lot more, but there are a lot of people out there doing this. But I think it is important for people to understand the sacrifices that professionals make to make this a better world for all these professionals that many times turn out to be our opponents.
Yeah.
You follow what I mean by that? In other words, you're a prospective lawyer. I'm a business owner, engineer, all of that. We decided that we saw something wrong in this country that needed changing. And we put
Yeah.
our skin in the game. And a lot of folks don't understand that, including some of them that put the nose up.
Yeah. Well, I would say most people really don't understand that capitalism has its way of chaining you to a lifestyle
Repeat
and
that. That is
chaining
important.
you.
The words that you use there are important. Say that again, my friend.
This capitalism has a way of chaining you to a lifestyle, and it chains
Right.
you to security and chains you to. And when you like, so obviously I'm black. Everybody, surprise, surprise. My mother is black, and so it's 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 hard telling your mom, who my mom went through a lot with me, right? I was I was smart in school, but because of the neighborhood that I grew up in, I was held back in seventh grade because I fought a lot because it was like a necessity, and I was suspended from school. I was held back because I missed so many days
Right.
from fighting. And so I got kicked out of my AG program. First time I had ever seen my mom cry. We've been through a lot at that point. I was 13 years old, 12, 13 years old. And that was the first time I had ever seen my mother cry because she felt responsible for it.
Well, yeah, you're in the
And
gifted program and you get kicked out as a black kid.
exactly. And it's like, this is a big deal. And I was like the only person from my neighborhood that was in the gifted program to begin with. And so my mom felt responsible for it. And so I was still kind of on a rough patch in eighth grade. The rest of the next year in seventh grade, I got together, but I was still on a rough patch. And then, like, by my ninth grade year, I got it together because I just didn't want to see my mother suffer. But, like, that was like, you have to bring stability to this family because I just didn't know if anyone else could. That was my number one goal. And as a minority, that mindset, it's not a bad mindset to have. Don't get me wrong. But that mind state is exactly how you end up with Cory Booker's, Kamala Harris's, and the like. Because in Obama, they individualize us. They throw these titles at us. They throw us generational wealth that we have never even hoped to see. And they say all you have to do is play ball. And then they turn you against your own, and then you end up with that crab in the bucket mentality. And
You
so
know,
telling my mother that I'm not, I know I've been working very hard for this. I know I had stability up until this point. I know I had like white people credit up until this point. And I had whatever I wanted, and everything I was working towards was this moment. But I have to do this because I want other people to have the opportunity to share this moment as well. That may not be as common, may not be lucky, may not have the positive influence that I have. I don't want them to have to go to the military and take a bullet to get free education. That's absurd. And so I had to do this, and it was hard for her to take at first. Now she's proud of me, but it was a hard thing. But that's what capitalism does, right? They create that anxiety that makes you feel that you have to sacrifice. It doesn't. They don't matter. Worry about you, your family. As long as you're good, then it's fine. But you can't have that mentality because no other country in the world has that
I
mentality. To be
love
honest
what
with
and that is the thing that I've been trying to get over. That's magic, right? That's magic because I have mine.
you. Hmm.
Because I have mine. And that is what we have to get over. Because the truth of the matter is, if especially minorities, whether you be black, Latino, Caribbean, or whatever, if you will never, in the way this society works, you will never have yours. You are just the example to allow yourself to look down at the others and say, if he can make it, you can too. But I'm really, if you, I don't know if you know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is.
I don't think
Ta-Nehisi
I'm
Coates.
familiar.
Ta-Nehisi Coates, the writer from New York, talking about redlining and
Oh, Coates, yes.
Ta-Nehisi
Oh, yeah, I
Coates.
read Coates. Oh man, his book is oh
So
man.
you read it too. I said his
Yeah, I
name
had to read
wrong.
it in
It's
college.
Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yeah.
Yeah, I read.
Okay.
Talked about redlining and
Exactly.
racism in the school board and all
Right.
that. Yeah,
And you
yeah.
see, the truth of the matter is, guys like you and me, right? We are
Hmm.
supposed to be that example that, hey, if they can make it, if they can do it, why are you people out there in the ghetto not doing it? When it is,
The model is it the model minority?
there you go. You
Yeah.
understand it? So I mean, you have to get the concept right. And a lot of people look at let's say look at you or whatever, and it's like, I am a Democrat. You are not a Democrat. I am trying to
I'm
change from
independent.
within. You are trying to change from without. Okay, fine. And let me tell you this. I was a Bernie delegate in Philly
Oh,
because
you were in Philly?
hell yeah.
I was there. I was speaking.
Well, what happened is this. I went to Philly as a delegate, not as politics done right.
Do you know Jeff Day?
No, where is he from? Here in
He
Houston?
was he's from Delaware, but he was a very popular delegate because he was filming everything as it was happening. I don't know how he was able to do it. But he was filming everything as it happened, and he went like viral, exposing how they were turning off the lights and using the sound suppressors or whatever. And
It
yeah,
was
but that's my friend. But
it
yeah,
was
it was
crazy,
crazy.
but out there, I did get quite a bit of video, but I was actually in the house, so I was a Texas delegate, So I'm a Bernie supporter as well, and all that good stuff. I did exactly what Bernie did, to put it bluntly, right? That is, you try
Hmm.
to do it. You try to make these changes from within the party. I know right now you ought to be upset. He went ahead and endorsed Biden. Yes, I never asked you that. What you thought about him endorsing Biden yesterday?
I can't really act like I'm surprised. So the truth of the matter is the fact that he would not acknowledge the fact that Biden's a segregationist. Like
Yeah.
segregationist, in my opinion, is a step above racist. There are racists everywhere in this world, whether or not they want to admit it. There's different levels to racism, right? But segregationist is different. Segregationist is you taking the power that you had granted to you by the people and that hate in your heart that you have, or that apathy in your heart that you have towards other races and other ethnicities, and actually institutionally holding them back
Yeah.
with power that, especially at that time, with power that they can
But
never have.
but Nico, nobody wants to bring back up the statement that he made when he was talking to the segregationists from, I think, South Carolina or whatever, where he actually stated, "Oh, this would be disruptive to his people," or something to that effect that he said.
Yeah, he was saying that black people didn't really want to be integrated, which is a lie. And
Right.
also, you don't take that choice away from them. If they choose to not be integrated, we had that choice.
Right.
But you can't say all it did was make busing available
Right.
in those neighborhoods.
But
Um,
something else that they miss, Nico, and this is it. Well, black people in South Carolina are patriarchal, right? In other words, their
yeah.
patriarch says, "Oh, I'm voting for Biden," and they went ahead and they
Oh, actually, they're matriarchal. I know it sounds silly, but
explain.
so they're matriarchal in the sense that the black mother, especially the grandmother,
Right.
kind of runs things, and all the decisions made when it comes to like the way the family should operate, like that's the mother's decision.
I am going
The
to have to
black
go. I'm
father,
with you. Actually, I am.
yeah.
You know what, Nico? You're right. The guy comes and he says, "I support." What's his name is the institution. The guy who said, "I'm voting for him." What's the name of the congressman? You know who I'm.
Oh my goodness!
You
Wow,
know.
I cannot remember his
Hey,
name
you're
now.
younger than I am, buddy.
Wow, I just said his name like yesterday too
You
during
are
my
younger
show.
than I am. You can't be forgetting this stuff, brother. Any,
Wow, this is really about to bother me.
you know how,
Oh my goodness.
but you know what I mean. When he
Yeah.
came out and supported him, the mothers then said, if he supports him, everybody, you guys must do this.
Yes.
I think I
Yes.
accept that because it was the ladies when you watch all these interviews, it was these old ladies that started out bringing the thing up.
Clyburn. Clyburn.
Clyburn,
That's his
yeah,
name.
Clyburn, you got it, you got it. Okay, so anyhow, so I'm going to take that patriarchal, but you're actually right. It is matriarchal. You're right. Anyhow,
And that's why the Democratic Party, by the way, they go out of their way to say that, oh, the black women are the face of the Democratic
but
Party,
they
the
have no
backbone of the
power.
Democratic Party. But they have no power. But it also shows once again that, like, realistically speaking, black men especially have no power in the Democratic Party. The only black man who has power in the Democratic Party is Obama, and even his power, which people don't really understand, is limited. His influence was limited, and his administration was not his. Like, I know people want to believe that his administration was not his. Citigroup picked his administration. The rest of the administration was picked by Hillary. Okay, and every decision made foreign policy wise, and a lot of decisions made when it came to the domestic policy and economics, was to prop up and pay off Hillary Clinton's people that she had connected through the Clinton Foundation.
Here's the
So,
interesting thing
what?
of what you're saying. Here's the interesting thing because I didn't quite say it that way. I have a very good friend, close friend, and he was upset with me yesterday because he said, I am I'm going to upset you right now. I am voting for Biden because
Okay.
you understand come on, get
Yeah, I
pissed.
know.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But my reason, you're young, and we need you out there doing what you do. Okay, I'm not going to argue
Hmm.
about what you do, but you also need me doing what I do.
Oh
I'm,
yeah, of course.
you know,
Well,
so
I'm a fan of a multi-pronged approach to changing
exactly,
the parties, because I don't know
exactly.
if you know, there's a problem in the Green Party right now where they're trying to do the same thing to
I heard your
Dario Hunter.
commentary on that. I was surprised to hear you say that.
I'm telling you, it's as long as humans are in charge of these parties. I mean, are we really surprised? Oh man, we have an election where 3 old white men are the decision makers again. That's who we have to vote. Come on, man, it's not a coincidence. In an age where this was the same election year where they touted the diversity. Oh, we have so many women of color running. Oh, we care now about marginalized, because that's the whole reason they throw right. You can't vote for Trump because somehow Joe Biden is just all of a sudden not a racist anymore. I guess that's what we're
Well,
told. And I'm like, we got 3 white men again.
but here's the thing that upsets me. Okay, here's what upsets me. They got all the wrong reasons why Obama picked Biden. Obama picked Biden because Biden was who Biden was. In other words, you know when I knew Obama was going to win.
What was
Obama,
that?
there was a canvasser in Pittsburgh. I think it was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he went to the door and he said, he asked the woman who answered the door who she's going to vote for. And the woman turns around to her husband, and I don't know why she thought she had to do that, but she turned to her husband and say, "Honey, who are we voting for?" And the husband shouts out, "Honey, we're voting for the nigger."
Oh, what?
That's when I knew
Look,
Obama was going to win. Tell
damn,
me why.
that's crazy.
The reason I knew Obama was going to win then is when somebody's prejudice overcomes their vote, or their vote overcomes their
It becomes a
prejudice.
prejudice.
It tells you something. That's when I knew he was going to win. I knew there
Yeah.
was going to be an issue with Obama as soon as he won, and for all practical purposes, disbanded OFA. I don't know if you were
Yeah.
old enough about OFA. Did you know much about OFA?
I don't know much about it. I do know
Obama
it
for
was
America
Bernie.
was Bernie's grassroots organization is very comparable with OFA.
Oh yeah, man. Listen, one of my good friends
Right,
was a huge part of it. Like
right,
my friend Donovan Livingstone. You might have even seen one of his. He had like some super viral Harvard speech.
right.
Black guy, but he was part of it. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, OFA was big. OFA was on every campus. OFA had a
They
movement.
were at UNC.
And you know what happened, man? After he was elected, OFA was left alone. In other words, the backing that he would have had from OFA was left alone, and that was done on
It was like our
purpose.
revolution.
Well, our revolution is our revolution is what OFA was supposed to be
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
as the backing of the president, okay? But it never
Hmm.
turned out to be. The only time they reinstituted OFA was in 2012 when the
Of
election
course.
came around again.
Well, that's why they lost. That's why they lost the House, right? That's why they lost the
Yes.
Senate, because you stopped. And what was so crazy about Obama was that he didn't need the corporate donations. He was setting all the records that Bernie was setting.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. And I don't think at first that he realized he didn't need the corporate donations. Like, because I mean, let's be honest, right? Nobody expected a Barack Hussein Obama to be any
Right.
competition for a Clinton. No one. But you know what? What's funny that nobody ever really accounts for. That I tell people is it's the smartest thing that the smart strategy that Obama ever implemented. Obama never mentioned he was black one single damn time. Not one single time
I never
during the
noticed that.
entire campaign. I noticed it. I
I never.
noticed it
I don't.
because
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive. And listen, this is why. So every time Hillary Clinton called herself a woman, I could not be sexist, but still feel marginalized by those statements.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because although I'm not sexist, it feels like your candidacy is only going to prop up women
Mm-hmm.
who have your experience. Well, I don't have those experiences, and I don't necessarily have the problem with women. So why would I feel compelled to go out and vote and campaign for you? Especially campaign for you. Maybe I might vote for you, depending on what the other option is.
Right.
But the other option was Barack Obama, who wasn't playing identity politics. People forget, and he ran. I mean, damn, he ran the campaign. A lot of people wish Bernie would have ran, as far as
Right.
his willingness to attack Hillary and call out everybody and actually call out the wars and he was pointing at people and saying. And I remember from the quote from Mike Gravel that it's so salient today, because you could see the transformation for Obama. It went from I believe that I could do this to, man, I have to protect my ego and my legacy at all costs. And he said on that debate stage, he said you scare me the most. Mike Gravel said this to Obama, and he said, you know why? Because you really believe you can change this by yourself, and you can't, and you're gonna fall just like they did. And like, if you go back and watch it, it'll give you goosebumps,
No, you
because
got
he was
you
right.
get a clip and send that clip to me when you get a chance. If you ever
I got
find it.
you.
Yeah, because I'd love to
got
see that. But I mean, the thing about it, you're right that Obama changed, right? I gave Obama a break all 8 years, and the reason
Mm-hmm.
I gave Obama a break all 8 years is because Obama was the first black president, and
Yep.
I
We were
don't
wrong.
I
We were
what
wrong for giving him a break.
you know something? I say that now, but I wouldn't have said that before. I say that
Mm-hmm.
now. If people hear me on my show say that. I mean, Obama did the same things that every other U.S. president has done. And even when it came to doing the Affordable Care Act, it was another capitalist move
Yeah.
for the
It's crazy
private
because
insurance companies. But
he wanted something else, and he let them take it. He let them
and
take
that's
it
my
from him.
point. That's my point. The heart, the Obama of what is it? What was his phrase again?
Change. Oh,
Not
the
change. The other one.
audacity of hope. The audacity of
Oh,
hope.
yeah, but he had another phrase: hope and change, hope and change, hope and
Yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah.
Hope and change was really real, and not only, and the people who followed hope and change was really real. But I always talk about the presidency and the president, and the presidency always ultimately changed the president.
Yeah, you
And
always move right.
and
Always.
and the thing about it is, he didn't have to. We were at. I tell you something else, Nico. We are at that stage right now. This is where you ought to excel now. We are at with this coronavirus that's happening right now, with this crash, this impending depression that's coming.
Shit. Impending. It seems like it's already here. And it's
But
about to
listen,
get worse.
but here's the deal. This is where we have to. This is where we have to come out, because the changes that are being made with the plutocrats out there in Congress. We have to
Mm-hmm.
kind of empower the people, man. We have to
Yeah.
empower the people. But
Uh,
go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Mike Figueredo, yesterday on my show.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a very interesting time period where we have an opportunity presented to us that, like, we won't be fooled by the Obamas anymore. Kamala and Booker's, embarrassing defeat kind of confirmed that. We also we're not going to allow the legacies to come in and do what they've always done, which is what Biden represents in the Democratic Leadership Council that was formed back in the day with Bill Clinton and the Koch brothers to try and usurp the Republican Party. That's the only reason they were able to beat George W. Bush. Biden was part of that. So the legacy is not even going to work anymore either. Now, fear-mongering us, saying that guy, the Republican Party, that's who you should actually fear. Well, that's not going to work either. See, because Biden won't even apologize for the crime bill. He won't even admit he was a segregationist. At least whenever I deal with Trump, I know what I'm getting from
Niko,
him.
I want to challenge you, brother. I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you.
Please.
I want to challenge you because I want to believe you. I want to believe you. And I've been, I got called out yesterday for saying something similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am trying to, and to put it bluntly, black people in South Carolina let me down. I got called.
Let me hold you on that one. Can I intervene real quick? So
Please.
Let me tell you something. There are a lot of black people in South Carolina who voted for Biden. Not as many as you would think. Something happened after Bernie's election in 20, or Bernie's success. I say it was a success.
I was in Nevada. Hold on. I was in Nevada. I was campaigning in Latino communities in Spanish for Bernie in Nevada. I saw what the populace felt like and looked like out there.
Yeah, I saw the signs. I saw all. Oh yeah, I was everywhere. I saw all of it. But listen, South Carolina. After Bernie's success, relatively everywhere, there was a lot of changes that went about. Basically, people ignored. They happened in 2017, 2018, 2019. Mm-hmm. Tom Perez Why do you think they worked so hard to ensure Keith Ellison didn't win the DNC chair position? Because they needed somebody. They needed somebody that could force various Democratic parties to do to implement changes that would have stopped Bernie from winning.
Right.
So what did they do? Except for Nevada and Iowa, which is for legal reasons, is weird, but except for Nevada and Iowa, every caucus state was erased. All the states, which are all the states that Bernie won.
Right.
Every state that Bernie won had their paper ballots taken away, and now you have voting machines. These voting machines do not have paper ballot backups. They're easily manipulated, and they have proprietary software. We could not get access to them even if we wanted to. So South Carolina was the main state that happened because you gotta kill Bernie's momentum early. You have to kill the momentum with the black vote early. And so if you paid attention from 1% to 100%, all the percentages for each candidate stayed almost exactly the same within 1 to 2%. That practice in the election integrity community is known as fraction magic. It was something that was experienced by Tim Canova here in the 2018 election. This is a common practice with voting machines. It's basically that no matter how many votes are counted, the percentages that are allocated will be basically exactly the same. And that's what happened. The exit polling did not match at all. In some cases, the exit poll results were more than double the margin of error, while the Republican primaries at the local, state, and federal levels all had exactly matching exit polls across the board. And this isn't just in South Carolina. And with the Green Party, Libertarian Party, and Republican Party, in every single primary in every single state thus far, the Democratic primary is the only one that had exit polling that was off.
You know who Greg Palast is?
Coincidence. Oh yeah, I love Greg.
I interviewed him, and he said something similar to me, and about the machines.
Yeah, me and Greg got to know each other pretty well because of election integrity issues. That's my bread and butter. That's the network's bread and butter.
And that is what he does.
Yeah, we broke the news. So one of the things that made Bernie Sanders challenge the Iowa results, like as they were happening, I don't know if you remember that night, there was a bunch of drama. Fiorella, one of the members of the MCSCNetwork, which is the political media network that I run, she was just happened to be there in the caucus room when Bernie won. The delegates were allocated, and then they all of a sudden, when most of the people left, they tried to flip a coin to allocate more delegates to Pete Buttigieg. And this is happening all over the state. And so she started investigating even further and found out that there was a pattern forming. And that's when Bernie's attorneys decided to challenge the Democratic Party of Iowa. And then we come to find out, of course, that there was that shadow app. And then he had an app of his own that nobody else knew about that they were recording results at the same time as the parties
So
were
they couldn't
recording
cheat as
results,
much as they wanted to.
so they couldn't cheat like they wanted to. Exactly. And that's
You
why the
know,
Iowa Democratic Party is suing Tom Perez, and Tom Perez is blaming the Democratic Party. It was a
right.
bunch of drama, but when there's that much discombobulation, it's because somebody got caught and they weren't expecting
Exactly.
it.
That is interesting. Whatever the case is, Nico, here's the deal. We got to get out of here. So what I'd like you to do is tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you. Give me your networks. Give me all of that before we close out here, because I want people to start checking you out. We need young people doing what you do, and we need young people supporting what you do, irrespective of what they think they believe now. So go ahead, please.
So it's my Twitter account is at Niko NIKOCSSB. My YouTube page is just you Google Niko NIKO House HOUSE, or
I have it
type
on
in
the screen.
MC. Yeah, or go to MCSCNetwork, or you can follow me at Rockfin at ROKFIN.com/Niko. And I'm around. I'm on the radio sometimes. I'm on TV sometimes, and so you'll see me.
Well, anyway, Nico, look, it was my pleasure to have you on Politics Done Right. I tell you something, I've been complaining a long time about young people getting involved of all stripes. And, when I found you and saw a couple of your videos, I'm like, I think I need to get in touch with this dude and get him on my show, and let's get busy and talk. Look, man, you keep up the good work. Stay in the fight. We need folks on both sides of the left working.
Yeah. Can I say something really quick before we go?
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Young people do need to get involved, but that narrative that we're not already involved needs to be killed. It needs to be done, because I was in California at UCLA. You know what they did? The first place they attacked the UCLA, they removed most of the voting machines out of UCLA. Do you know why? Because there was a line of thousands of people, thousands of kids, 18, 19, 20, 21. Texas, in Austin, had the same issue. Same thing happened in Berkeley. Same thing happened in San Francisco. The reason why is because we're already activated. They're trying to suppress us because now millennials have become the dominant voter demographic.
Yes, they
I don't know
are.
if you know that. And that's why we are active. We are fighting, but they're trying to suppress our vote. They're trying, and what they do is they always try to attack us first. I don't know if you've seen the way they've been even trying to attack Bree Joy Gray on Twitter, trying to
they're
denigrate
giving her a hard
and
time.
trying to call her a child. Look, Bree is 35 years old and is a very established journalist and has been for quite some time. But that's what they. Go ahead.
And very smart.
Very, very intelligent. Very, very intelligent. And they know that we're on the come up. They know we're on the rise, and they know we're coming to supplant them. And that's what they don't want to happen. So they have to push this narrative that, young people just don't get out to vote. No, y'all took our vote. Y'all literally tried to keep. So we don't get out to vote. So who was out there waiting for 4 or 5 hours? What's all those videos of kids out there waiting 4 or 5 hours, doing their homework on their laptops, trying to, no, we do participate. We are here.
I am glad you corrected that. Because I'm glad you corrected that. In other words, you're saying voter suppression is not only race-based, it's also age-based, because they know what's
absolutely
what's going on.
Because the older. Go ahead.
Niko, that is why we have to have you out there, and that is why we have to have folks, independent media out there telling the truth.
Yeah,
point blank.
Absolutely. My favorite, I'm 31 years old. I just turned 31. The people on my network, the oldest person on my network is 45 now, but everybody is generally below 32. I think I might be the second oldest. And they're just as intelligent, just as active. And by the way, for my network, there is a requirement that you cannot simply just be a commentator pontificating from behind a desk. You actually have to be an activist. You have to get out and not just talk to people, but be part of that change you seek. Because that's the only way. How can you possibly give advice to people about where we should go?
If you're not in the field.
If you're not in the field.
Absolutely.
It's like you can't be a sergeant. You can't be a sergeant without being in the field with your soldiers. It's the same thing in politics. And so that's the mindset that a lot of young people have right now. And I know you weren't trying to say that, but I just wanted to correct that in case you have any older listeners who are under the impression that we're not working. Listen, when I started that damn lawsuit, I was 26 years old when I sacrificed everything to start the DNC for All lawsuit. And whenever it gets popping, and it will get popping, I assure you that, when it does, we're going to look back and they're going to say, and this isn't just to pat myself on the back, but I just want to make the point that young people are out here fighting. When we look back, because it's probably going to be another 3 or 4 years before it's all said and done, they'll say, wow, who the hell started that? It was a senior at the University of North Carolina who was tired of the bullshit. When everyone else was saying, I was screaming, speak up, speak up. No, we just got to vote. We just got to vote. Voting is the last step. Voting is, don't tell me, well, who are you going to vote for then? No, because then I'm going to ask you, what have you done to prevent us from getting into the situation to begin with? And I can tell you for a fact, I know a lot of young people who have worked to prevent us from ever having the choices of just a Biden and a Trump or a Hillary and a Trump. We started working 3 years ago, and we're going to start that work again here.
My brother millennial, don't forget the Gen Xers and the young baby boomers who've been on your side, all right? So don't forget when we get old, don't leave us behind.
Absolutely.
Niko House, founder of the MCSCNetwork, host of Casa Es Su Casa. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.